Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's Carticulture info session. To begin, Carticulture itself is a voluntary non-grant program where participating cultural organizations offer steep discounts to low-income families. This means these participating organizations are not reimbursed or paid in any way for their participation. The program is also a partnership involving 4 state agencies and over 400 organizations. And for historical context, it initially launched in 2017, and by 2023 exceeded 1 million admissions, discounted admissions. So in terms of who does what, we, Mass Cultural Council, recruit and onboard organizations to participate, and we promote the program statewide. Participating organizations, along with our support, create and implement unique discounts and report on usage data annually. Lastly, our agency partners promote the program directly to their cardholders. Next up, we will speak a little bit more about the 3 different state agency partnerships that we have and a little bit more about their programs and the families enrolled in them.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Laughlin. I'm the SNAP Outreach Coordinator here at the Department of Transitional Assistance, and I'm going to go over SNAP and cash benefits and how it relates to the EBT Carticulture program. So we'll get started. So here at the Department of Transitional Assistance, our mission is to assist and empower low-income individuals and families to meet their basic needs, improve their quality of life, and achieve long-term economic self-sufficiency. So right now we're serving 1 in 6 residents of the Commonwealth. And we do have a DTA scorecard that you can find at mass.gov. But as of January 2024, we're working with 665,243 SNAP households. And within those SNAP households, we're serving over 1 million recipients. In terms of our 2 cash assistance programs, TAFDC, we're serving 43,160 households, which equates to 112,570 recipients. And then for our EAEDC program, that's another cash assistance program for the elderly, disabled, and children, we're serving 29,378 households, which equals 29,597 recipients. So let's talk about how you can reach us here at DTA to apply for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps, our 2 cash assistance programs, Transitional Aid to Families with Dependent Children, also known as TAFDC, and Emergency Aid to the Elderly, Disabled, and Children, also known as EAEDC. So you can call the DTA assistance line. The number's on the screen, 877-382-2363. Another way to reach us is to go to dtaconnect.com, and you can submit an application for either SNAP or our 2 cash assistance programs that way. You can also, if you're looking to apply for SNAP, you can contact one of our SNAP outreach partners, and the link to reach them, find a local outreach partner near you, is on the screen at mass.gov. You just go to mass.gov, info details, SNAP outreach partners. The outreach partners can also do an application with you over the phone. And if you want to go old school, you can mail or fax an application to our document processing center, and it's located at P.O. Box 4406 in Taunton, Mass. The phone number to fax it is 617-887-8765. So let's just talk briefly about what the program guidelines are to apply for SNAP. So SNAP is a federal nutrition program. It's administered by the Department of Transitional Assistance, and it provides households a monthly benefit to buy food. Now, you need to be low income and a U.S. citizen or an eligible immigrant. There are restrictions that apply for some immigrants. If you apply for SNAP for yourself or other folks in your household, this does not make you a public charge. Okay, so it's not going to harm your pathway to citizenship. And then finally, SNAP eligibility is based on who's in the household, their income, and certain expenses. So the chart on the right-hand side of the screen has the household size, so the assistance unit size. Let's take a household of one. You need to gross less than $2,510 a month, and the maximum benefit you can get for your household size is $291. Okay, so that last column is the benefit amount, the maximum SNAP benefit, and those figures will change according to the federal fiscal year. So they are good until September 30th, 2024. The middle column, which is the 200% of the federal poverty level, those figures are good until February 1st of 2025. Okay, so they just went up in February. For our cash assistance program, Transitional Aid to Families with Dependent Children, it's an economic assistance or cash benefit program that helps pregnant individuals, families, and caregivers of children 18 or younger. The eligibility is based on income, and DTA provides 2 cash payments per month. For emergency aid to the elderly and disabled children, that's also a cash benefit for disabled individuals and adults over 65 that are waiting for supplemental security income, SSI payments to begin. And again, DTA provides 2 cash payments per month. Now, this is what the EBT card looks like. That's the card where we put the benefits for either cash or SNAP on it. It's good with or without the photo. And if you are getting cash assistance, TAFDC or EADC, you can also get those benefits deposited in your bank account. So you don't have to get them on the EBT card if you don't want to. And then again, the cards are valid with or without the photo. So how can you help promote this program? Well, this is the beautiful flyer that was created. You can distribute these flyers, and there's a link in the training for you to locate the flyer. You want to obviously encourage vegetation. We do have a Twitter account at DTA Listens. And then we do have on our mass.gov website the link to all the EBT Card to Culture organizations. So I highly recommend, if you're talking to clients, that you tell them about the website, maybe even look it up for them and tell them which cultural orgs near them are participating in the program, because each organization has different ways to access this program.
Thank you, Mary. Now, next up, we have the WIC, Women, Infants, and Children Nutrition Program, which provides nutrition and health education, healthy foods, breastfeeding support, and other services like referrals to families who qualify. In terms of who's eligible, any and all parents and legal guardians of children under the age of 5 and pregnant women are eligible, provided that they meet the following criteria. They must live in Massachusetts, have a nutritional need. Their household income must meet the WIC guidelines, and we've hyperlinked that here. And as a reference point, it's essentially 185% of the federal poverty level, the FPL, which essentially means that as an example, a single parent could not earn over $27,000. And lastly, individuals who are already receiving TAFDC or SNAP benefits, which are the 2 programs that Mary had mentioned previously, or those who are on Mass Health or Medicaid automatically qualify to receive WIC. And currently, there are about 87,000 cardholders statewide. Unlike the EBT card, the WIC card does not have a photo on it, and they issue one per family, and there is no common identifying number associated with the cards. And in terms of how they promote the program, they heavily use their Facebook page to promote carticulture and other things related to their programming. They also have a very extensive network. So they have 31 local WIC programs across the state, each of which is staffed with what they call a WIC community coordinator. And these individuals do an excellent job in really communicating the participating organizations in their respective areas to the WIC families in those communities. And they also have 122 regional offices statewide as well. And lastly, here is the link to their website where they actually list all of the organizations that are offering WIC discounts. Our last partnership is with the Massachusetts Health Connector, which is the country's first and longest running state-based marketplace, having been created in 2006 to provide coverage to Massachusetts individuals and small businesses. Today, they provide health and dental insurance to almost 300,000 people. Our partnership is specifically with their Connector Care health insurance program, which provides significant financial help to people earning between $17,000 and $73,000, or just under $73,000 annually. As of January 1st of 2024, Connector Care is also undergoing a 2-year pilot to expand access to affordable health care. Due to this expansion, the number of Connector Care cardholders statewide has risen to approximately 185,000. And the links below are to the press release that went out about the expansion pilot program and also to the new 2024 income limit thresholds. And again, due to this expansion, there are now 8 different health insurance carriers that are now participating in the Connector Care program, each of which has their own unique health insurance card that they assign to the people enrolled in their respective programs. These are examples of 2 of those 8 cards. And although all of them are uniquely different, they will all have the words Connector Care somewhere listed on the card. And that's kind of the indication that they are participating in the Connector Care program. And one important thing to note is that not all Health Connector members are part of the Connector Care health insurance program. So only those who qualify for Connector Care will have that specifically mentioned on their card. And lastly, the Health Connector promotes Card2Culture to their Connector Care cardholders through their social media content, which includes postings across all their different channels. And sometimes they even host Facebook Live events at participating organizations. They also send out member emails encouraging them to visit nearby cultural organizations. And lastly, similar to DTA and WIC, they too have their own webpage that lists all of the organizations offering Connector Care discounts. Now, truly, the unsung heroes of it all are the over 400 organizations, cultural organizations that are participating in the program. And they range from different dance, music, and theater performance groups and venues to art schools and centers, museums, zoos, and many other different types of organizations. And their discounts can range between free or steeply discounted rates for tickets, classes, camps, memberships, gift shops, and many other different types of things. Now let's discuss the criteria for eligible discounts. Given that our mission is to make cultural programming accessible to low-income families by breaking down the financial barriers that limit their participation, then proposed discounts must provide free or steeply discounted access to active and consistent programs in their entirety using accessible and equitable practices. So that's kind of a long-winded statement, so let's go ahead and unpack this. So to begin, steep discounts means that they must provide free access or at least a 50% discount to an organization's active and consistent programs. However, organizations whose programs are entirely free and publicly available, those organizations can still go ahead and participate in Card2Culture. Obviously, there won't be a discount that they would have to go ahead and offer. So what we mean by active programs are active programs incorporate some level of activity. In most cases, I'd say honestly 99% of the applications we receive are from organizations who run active programs. There was 1 or 2 that were a little strange, so we felt the need to kind of elaborate on this a little bit more. But essentially, as examples, any outdoor mural or statues that are in a public place that are void of any type of an engagement component, like an artist talk, anything along those lines, something like that would be considered ineligible since it is passive and static on its own. There's no actual engagement with a patron. Next, consistent programs have a set of planned scheduling, whether that's weekly, monthly, annually, such as annual fairs and festivals, or other type of continuity. So in this case, the only types of programs that are ineligible are ad hoc programs, programs that would really only be sustained if they receive funding, as examples. And in what we mean by entirety in this case, we are referring to every performance or event within a series or seasonal program, or every class or a workshop within a curriculum or semester. So as examples, if we use theater groups as an example, a theater group could not offer a discount to only their productions happening between Monday and Thursday, and then they exclude their um, weekend runs as an example. So things like that. That's kind of what we mean by entirety. However, some exceptions can be made, and those include fundraisers, non-self-presented works, which means essentially a performing venue that is renting its space for another group to go ahead and perform. In situations like that, those types of events can be excluded. Accessible and equitable practices include the processes, policies, and protocols for how an organization administers its card to culture discount. For example, discount availability means that if organizations allow other discounted patrons to buy tickets once they are available for purchase, they cannot limit card to culture patrons to buying their tickets at the door on the day of an event, as an example. Discount clarity means that the instructions patrons must follow in order to receive an organization's card to culture discount. All of those details must be clearly stated on their website, including any relevant limitations or restrictions. Next, processes must not require that the person named on the individual EBT WIC or Connector Care card be present, and organizations cannot ask to see a photo ID in addition to a patron's respective EBT WIC or Connector Care card. Organizations must also accept all payment methods that they would normally accept, which means they cannot limit card to culture purchases to cash only. And lastly, if other discounted patrons, such as students and seniors, can purchase their discounted tickets using an online discount code, then card to culture patrons should also be able to purchase discounted tickets online as well. Now, for ticket-based events that span over a few hours or general admission discounts as well, the most accessible price point for these types of events is between unlimited free admission and $5 tickets. Tickets under $5 and limited to 4 per transaction is the average offer that we see many participating organizations um, apply with. $10 to $15 tickets starts to become inaccessible for some families, and anything over $20 would really, unfortunately, kind of starts to work against the program's mission. Now, organizations can also decide on which cards to accept and which among their programs they'd like to discount. They can also decide how many people are allowed to receive the discount per card or per transaction. They can set the limitations if there's limited capacity for a class or performance or anything along those lines. And lastly, it's on them to establish whatever processes, policies, and protocols they want to go ahead and use to administer their discount. Now, when it comes to what types of discounts can be offered, honestly, the sky's the limit. So we have organizations offering financial aid or tuition assistance discounts toward their education programs, free memberships and tours, discounted products, studio time, space rentals for artists. We also have organizations offering discounts under a pay what you can model. So the key takeaway here is for organizations to think about how can they help low-income families engage in all of their programs. So for example, organizations that have memberships that allow patrons to engage in all of their programs should definitely consider creating a card to culture discount around those memberships. For organizations looking to sign up, here's the process on how to get started. So just as a brief overview, first, organizations would want to go ahead and review this info session and read through the program guidelines, especially anyone who would be part of the implementation process of an organization's discount. Then, as they're getting ready to complete an application, they should have some discount, some particular discount in mind. They don't have to have all of the details fleshed out. That's definitely where we come into the formula, so to speak, and help organizations do this. But definitely, before you submit an application, do have some idea of a particular discount in mind. Then we work with the organizations to detail what the discount is, what the offer is going to be, and any processes that are going to coincide with that. And once those details are finalized, the organization then updates its website by publishing all of that information onto its website. At that point, they are then put into the queue to be listed on our agency's partners' websites the next time that they make their website updates to the list of organizations participating in the program. And essentially concurrently, while that is happening, organizations will want to move forward with training their staff. So first and foremost, they want to announce their participation throughout the entire organization. So everyone affiliated with it, from the board, if this is a nonprofit, to staff that have nothing to do with the implementation. You want to make sure everyone's aware of the process. And then in particular, staff members or volunteers who play a lead role in the front of house or in the registration or in any aspect that would be part of the implementation of the program. Definitely, then those folks, you'll want to make sure that you're training much more thoroughly. And then lastly, once the time arrives, the organization will complete a final report that simply just details the number of admissions it offered throughout the calendar year. We're going to go through each of these step by step. To access the Carticulture application, you'll first want to visit our grant management system. The URL is massculturalcouncil.smartsimple.com. You'll want to enter your email address and your password to access the system. If you don't have one, the button on the lower left, the register button, will allow you to either create your own individual user account and or an organizational profile if one doesn't already exist in the system. And from there, you'll be able to log in. Once you log in, this is what the home page will look like. You'll see welcome and then your first and last name here. If this is the first time that you are accessing a Carticulture application, you'll want to go to current opportunities and scroll down here. It is on this account, it's being shown as the second option here. Click the apply now button to access the application. However, for this video, I've already started that. If you have started a Carticulture application and you didn't submit one and you're coming back to it, and which is really the case for all applications through our system, scroll down here below applications, click on in progress, and that's where those applications are when they're in draft. In this case, here it is for Carticulture. So you just click open. All right, so now these are the three tabs associated with the Carticulture application. So going through them in order, the first bit of content is already pre-populated. So once you've created, or if assuming you already have an organizational profile, this information here will be populated from the organization that is linked to your individual user account. So none of this is editable. If, as you are going through this, if this information you realize needs to be updated, feel free to go ahead and send us an email and we could go ahead and do that for you. But initially you'll want to scroll down here. This is also pre-populated information. This would be your information, whoever the individual user is who is accessing this application. Down here for the Carticulture contact, some organizations with larger staff like to actually enter the name of the box office admissions manager or front of house person, the person who's really going to be the lead on the Carticulture side of things. They like to enter that person's contact information here. However, if it is you, then feel free to just enter your contact information as well here. I think personally, I recommend a best practice is to always have a secondary person who would be receiving correspondence on behalf of Carticulture. I think that's always a good idea if it makes sense to do that. Then next, you go into the discount information side. So the first three things are essentially the equivalent of an eligibility quiz. So these three questions here are all of the eligibility criteria that we have already talked about. So as you go through them, Obviously, you want to just go ahead and enter yes. If you enter no, that's completely fine. That happens from time to time, and sometimes that's because some folks are confused. That gives us an opportunity to connect one-on-one, just to kind of talk through those situations. But essentially, you'll want to enter yes to those three first questions. And then once you get to this section here under discount cards, this is where you select to you're indicating essentially which card holding groups you want to offer your discount to. So this is for EBT, WIC, and Connector Care. And each time you check on a box, their respective boxes will populate. So this is where you will enter your discount offer text verbatim. However, like I mentioned earlier, don't feel the need to get this correct the first time out. As you're writing your discount offer text here, you're still kind of doing so with the idea of having a discount in mind. The final details will work on together. So don't feel pressure to kind of have everything set in stone when you're completing this application for the first time. And then here for organization display name, this field is carbon copy used and as the list for our agency's partners website. So whatever you enter here is exactly how it's going to be listed on those other websites. So most organizations, what we'll see often is they'll drop the LLC or the incorporated, essentially just kind of the name of the organization. The organization URL to start, feel free to just go ahead and use your main homepage. Once an organization gets to the point where they've updated their own website and published their card to culture information, we then take that page and swap it to become their new organization URL. Because essentially that where the published card to culture information resides on an organization's website will end up being the landing page that we will direct EBT, WIC, and Connector Care cardholders to. And then the rest of the questions are quite self-explanatory. So just your location, if there's a specific address that pertains to your organization. This is a drop-down feature, and it just breaks up the state of Massachusetts into 6 counties. If you're not sure, best guess, we kind of have our own internal system of identifying which cities are associated with which region, so no need to get that right because we cross-reference that once applications are submitted. Your days and hours, if that's relevant, based upon the type of discount or the programming that you have. Most organizations they'll just copy this information here. Vary, see website for specific dates. Next, the telephone number to your organization. The next 3 pertain to you if you have social media, if in particular, if you have these social media accounts. If you have Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, copy the entire URL for those channels. And then these last 2 here for WIC, if you do have any programming that is really kind of geared towards women, infants, and children under 5 years old, anything that would be relevant to that population, feel free to briefly describe what those programs are. We like to share this information, in this case, specifically with our colleagues at the WIC offices. You don't have to have any programming that's catered specifically to this audience. It's only if you do. And the same context for health and wellness. This is really kind of connected to our folks at the Mass Health Connector. So any information that's added here, we forward over to them basically as kind of like an FYI. Be on the lookout for this organization who is about to be onboarded, who has very relevant programming to your constituents, something along those lines, basically. And then here, organizations do not need to offer a veteran or a military discount. This is just something we are tracking on a separate web page on our own website. So any organizations who might already be offering a veterans or a military discount, we just like to keep track of that. So in this case, you could simply paste the URL. Most organizations will paste their ticketing page information that may already have a complete list of their discounts, including, for veterans, if that's the case here. And then the next and final page is reading this content and attesting that you've essentially read it and agreed to abide by it, essentially. And then once that happens, you hit the submit button, and then we'll go from there. So once an organization submits an application, we typically go back and forth. We'll work with them on kind of confirming whatever their discount offer is going to be and the processes and protocols kind of associated with that. Once we confirm those details and the application is approved, applicants will then receive a detailed email about updating their website and essentially wherever else they would regularly advertise discounts. As part of that process, they would also include any instructions patrons must follow in order to receive the Carticulture discount. They would also reference and link back to the Mass Cultural Council's Carticulture program webpage. And lastly, they would reference the agency partners and link back to their full list of participating organizations that offer EBT WIC and Connector Care discounts. Now, at the least, everyone within the organization should learn of the organization's participation in Carticulture. However, especially for all front of house staff and volunteers, or anyone essentially who will have some role within the implementation process, they'll need to learn how to answer any questions about the actual discount or the program that's associated with their Carticulture discount. They'll need to learn to identify any cards if and only if they are choosing to ask cardholders to see their cards. It is a best practice for organizations to take patrons at their word and not even ask to see their associated EBT WIC or Connector Care card. And many organizations actually don't. So if your organization is one that chooses not to ask, you're more than welcome to do that. Organizations, or in this case, front of house staffs, will also want to learn how to apply discounts through their existing ticketing process and apply payments and things of that nature. And lastly, typically we'll see folks with larger staff that are in the development side of the organization. These typically are the individuals that are learning to track the admissions and complete the final report when it comes down to do that. Participating organizations will also complete a final report annually. Generally, what happens is that they will receive a note through our own grant management system sometime in December with details of the final report that's usually due the following year around January or February. It's a very simple report. Essentially, they are asked to report on the number of EBT WIC and or Connector Care discounts that they administered throughout the calendar year. For the organizations that don't even ask to see the card, there is a total column where they instead just enter the number of total discounts that they administered through the year without breaking them down by card type. And that's essentially it. The remainder of the questions that we ask in that final report are optional, and we allow organizations to share any staff or guest testimonials. We also love it when they provide us with any logistics or promotional best practices that they've used or created, and that we're very successful in those. And that's a great way for us to kind of compile those ideas and share those types of best practices with other organizations that join the program. And then lastly, there's a section for them to enter in any training recommendations that they may like to see in the future or overall program feedback in general. Now, these are some of the things to keep in mind and FAQs that we often receive. So first, EBT WIC and Connector Care cards are not used to pay for admission. Essentially, patrons only use those as an identifier. And again, that's if the organization is even asking to see those cards. Second, you want to make sure that your processes are as welcoming and inclusive as they possibly can be. Some families may feel reluctant to share their association with these low-income programs, so really just be mindful within every encounter that you come across. And lastly, organizations must honor whatever their proposed discount is through the end of the calendar year. And then what happens is closer to December, organizations will receive essentially an opt-out notification. Actually, they receive that notification the same time they receive information about the pending final report. At that point, organizations can choose to either change their discount, which would start throughout the next calendar year, or to opt out altogether. Organizations that don't respond to that particular opt-out notification are automatically re-enrolled into the following calendar year.